welcome. It's Carissa Karner, and I am here with the incredible Dr. Cindy Tsai. She is a board certified physician. She's a speaker, a best-selling author, a mindfulness teacher, and a life coach. That's incredible, Cindy. She is committed to helping high achievers live their lives with ease. Now, as a physician, Cindy saw that the impacts of chronic stress on the body, and she realized she wanted to do more than just prescribe medications as a Band-Aid. So now she aims to provide a radical path to healing and translate her professional knowledge into a powerful blueprint with her inspiring success story method. So that way she can help people step beyond their comfort zones and dare to achieve their dreams. Absolutely amazing. And Cindy, I am so thrilled to have you on today and talk about all of this.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Will you share a little bit about who you are in your own words and how you came to do what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So ever since I was young, I wanted to become a doctor and follow in my dad's footsteps. He was a surgeon, and I was always this perfectionist and doing all the right things, checking all the boxes. And I worked really hard going to all the top schools like Hopkins and Dartmouth so that I could become a physician and really help people in this way. And throughout the journey, I think there were definitely a lot of challenges and moments when I wanted to give up, but I kept persevering and just told myself to keep going. And I think a lot of times that's what we have learned, what we see from society, right? We talk a lot about grit and determination and hard work. And so I took all of that and I kept going and, thinking that when I finally started practicing that things would be great, that I could finally relax, I could enjoy my life and all the things. And then it unfortunately didn't work out that way because, even though things looked good on the surface and I had a great team, wonderful relationships and all the things, I wasn't fully happy or fulfilled. And I think it was really hard to admit to that because you're like, well, what do you have to complain about? And, things are working. And I got sick. I really was forced to take some time for myself and really think about what is really important to me. And I think a big part of it was recognizing that there's so many pieces and parts to wellness and to living a great life, and that we can't just look at bits and pieces and looking at the surface, but really getting to the root cause and to look at the whole picture and to understand what works for you, because everyone's different. And so in my journey, I definitely worked with a lot of different practitioners. I came across the field of coaching, which really helped me so much personally and inspired me to become a coach and to help others in this way too.
Wow, what a story. I imagine if you're listening, there are so many people that can relate to that feeling of, if I just keep working hard, if I just have grit, if I keep grinding this out, then I'm going to get to that place where everything's going to be fine. And that sounds like what you believed and you felt, and then you got there. And even though maybe on the outside, everything looked fantastic, on the inside, actually, it didn't feel great. And in fact, you've really suffered and struggled.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that a lot of times we have this expectation and idea of how things should look and should be. And we often get very attached to that process and outcome. And I think a lot of times it's our own attachment that creates this suffering, because when things don't match up to our expectations, we inevitably get disappointed, frustrated, and all of these things, and makes it so much harder for ourselves, unfortunately.
Yes, yes. And it sounds like you have a way to help people with that because of what you've learned. I know we talked about your three pillars. Would you share a little bit about that and how that helps the people that you work with?
Absolutely. So I wrote a book recently. It's called So Much Better, and it's a self-help book based in mindfulness. And I share the life-changing strategies to develop calm, confidence, and curiosity to become your own inspiring success story. And so the three pillars I talked about are calm, confidence, and curiosity. And I really think it's important to master all three in order to truly be well. And so calm is about regulating your nervous system so that you can stay calm no matter what comes up, right? Even in high pressured situations. Confidence is about really learning to manage your mind and rewiring the brain so that, a lot of times I think we have these beliefs that we've held onto for a long time, many of which aren't serving us. We have feelings of imposter syndrome, all of that inner critic stuff. And so really releasing all of that so that you can be confident as you. And then curiosity is about really tapping into your inner wisdom and bringing in the creativity and the fun so that you get to live the life that you really want to and dream of. And so I think tying all three pillars together is key because sometimes we only work on one part of the picture and then we don't get that full holistic experience.
And I heard you say that earlier, the importance of looking at that holistic piece. It sounds like when you were working as a physician, you saw that you weren't able to work on a person as a whole the way that you can now as you're threading all these elements together. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I think that I was practicing as a primary care physician, and a lot of times with Western medicine, it's great for many things, right? Like if you have trauma, if you have an acute infection, it's really helpful. But I think it's also sometimes when you're dealing with chronic issues, it's not just taking a medication, but it's also what are you thinking about it, right? What's your mindset towards it? How are you resting? Like it's all of these components together in order to really feel better that I think, unfortunately, we don't necessarily always get to cover in traditional Western medical practice.
Absolutely. And I love that you thread in that curiosity piece and that includes joy and fun, that it's not just about, okay, my body feels good and my mind is in the right place, but there's also that delight and the fun and the curiosity of life that you're bringing in as well.
Yeah, I think that's so often we don't tap into that piece. We kind of continue on life. It's almost like we're always on autopilot and we lose sight of all of the fun and the passion. And I think that is a really important component to have in your everyday so that you can continually to be inspired and to really come from a place of, feeling good and well.
Yes. So how would this translate if someone who's listening, if they're an entrepreneur, an expert, they're a speaker, how would this translate into somebody who is trying to grow their business or bring their expertise out into the world? How could they apply these three pillars to that experience?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important to know that it's a process and that everyone is different. And I think that at different points in our lives, we might be more focused in one area versus another. But I do think that calm is one of the first most important places to start, because if you're not able to regulate your nervous system to stay calm, then a lot of times what happens is you're in this perpetual state of stress. And when you're stressed, your body is activated, the fight or flight system is active, and you actually aren't going to be able to think and function as rationally and as clearly. So I do think it's really important to be able to regulate your system, to learn how to manage stress in ways that work for you, so that you can stay grounded no matter what happens, right? Depending on whatever situation you're in, especially when we're talking about entrepreneurship and building a business, you're going to be doing a lot of things that you've never done before. And you're going to be in situations that are foreign and new. And so how do you still stay calm in the midst of all of it, even when inside you're like panicking and stressing out? I think is so key. So I think having that sense of calm is really important. In my book, I talk about how breathing is one of the easiest ways to stay in that state of calm. And then so I highly recommend people just having different types of practices that work for them so that they can stay calm and grounded. And then, of course, it's, learning how to manage your mind and to understand what's your mindset, what's your perspective. Are you focused on the problems or are you focused on the solutions, right? And just really having that support and that awareness, I think, is so key as you're building your business. And then, which is why also curiosity is very much related, of bringing in and all of that reflection of like, hey, what's going on, right? How can I make the most out of this instead of getting stuck and, things not work out?
Absolutely. And it really sounds like that calm piece is so foundational, that you're bringing in how to regulate the nervous system. It's not just about, oh, I should be calmer. I think some people, I also am a therapist. I'm a psychotherapist as well. And I know some people will come to me in my therapy practice and say, oh, I should just be calmer. And they don't yet realize that there are tools to bring the nervous system down, to regulate the nervous system so that you can find that state of calm. And so I'm curious that you were talking about each person finding the tools that work best for them. Do you have a favorite breathing exercise or a favorite calm tool that you personally use and you love?
Yeah, there's so many, but I definitely do a lot of breathing practices. And I think we often underestimate the power of our breath and how just taking intentional breaths can make such a big difference. And one of my favorite breathing techniques is it's called the cleansing breath, where you just take an inhale through your nose and then you exhale through an open mouth sigh. And just releasing all the stress, anything you're holding on to. And it just takes a couple seconds. It's one of my favorite tools that I share with all clients. And it just helps to reset things, and just knowing it takes a few seconds is a great tool.
Yeah, I'd love to invite, if you're listening, why don't we all do it together right now? Tell me if I'm saying this right, Cindy, that take a nice deep breath and then just sigh it out with a big exhale. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's called a cleansing breath, and you can just take an inhale through your nose, feel your chest expand, and then exhale, open mouth sigh, releasing any stress or tension you're holding on to.
Oh, that felt great. I feel the shift in my body.
Yeah, and it just takes a few seconds. It's one of my favorite tools. So I encourage people to take some cleansing breaths when you can throughout your day.
Thank you for teaching us that cleansing breath. So take that away and start to use that. And definitely Cindy can show you and teach you more through her coaching, through her book. But right now, I'd love to hear more, Cindy, about how a lot of our audience is wanting to use speaking to grow a business. In addition to being an entrepreneur, are there one or two of these techniques that somebody as a speaker could use to help them come up with their material or to feel more confident on stage? What would you recommend?
So I think that there are so many different tools out there that can be helpful. I think when you are being a speaker, it's really important to always stay focused on your audience and coming from a place of service. So I think for me, before I get on any stage, it's really important that I understand, what are the people here for, right? Like what would be most helpful to them. And really reminding myself to get out of my own head and my own way, because I think a lot of times, before you go on stage and you see a bunch of people, nerves are normal, right? I mean, public speaking is one of the most common fears for so many people. And so I think a lot of times when that happens, it's just important for me to really remind myself to look at, where are my thoughts? Where is my headspace, right? And doing some coaching around that to remind myself, like, I'm not here for me. I'm here for the people in the audience, and that I have something really important that I can share and help them with. And so I always think that's a really important tip to just remember, like, if you ever get nervous speaking and talking in front of large, on stage and things like that, just remember, it's not about you, it's about that person. And also thinking about, just thinking about one person that you can help in the audience, right? Instead of like 2,000 people, just like one person. Think about talking to that one person and like having a conversation and making a connection. And I think a lot of times that will really help you to come across as, in terms of your message and what you want to share and help others on.
Oh, I love that. I couldn't agree more. That's something very similar that I share with my clients as a speaking coach, is that idea of being of service. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about how that helps to build your second pillar of confidence when you're taking that focus off of you and coming back to, how can I serve somebody else? How can I make a connection and be of service and give a gift? It brings up the confidence, because then there's less fear and less worry about messing up or doing it wrong. And that focus, like you said, where you put your mind, that focus becomes on giving a gift. That is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you've done quite a bit of speaking as part of building your own business as a coach. I'm not sure if you did it as a physician as well, but definitely as a coach. Would you share more about how public speaking has helped you grow your business?
Yeah, I think speaking is a really great way to build your business. I think for me, in medical training, I've definitely done my fair share of presentations and, a lot of them, but they're primarily more science focused. I think in terms of my business now, what's great is when I do have presentations and speaking engagements, I think it really is a great way for people to get to know me and to experience my work. And I usually lead them through different types of exercises and tools, and so that they really get to experience what it's like. And I think that is why speaking can be so powerful, because it's a way to directly connect and engage with your audience. And so it's almost like a way to help you really come alive, as opposed to if they just read your book or, a blog post you wrote. That's why I do think speaking is a wonderful way to build your business and to really help and connect with people.
And making those connections. You described that so beautifully, that when you are speaking, you're letting people, you come alive and you're able to make those connections, even though you're not necessarily one-on-one with somebody, you're one to many, but you can still make those connections in such a powerful way that is different than just reading words on a page. Amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's something really important about when you're there and present with someone, it feels different than if you were just reading words off a paper or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then they get to experience your magic, your expertise, and kind of the essence of you as you teach them these techniques in a different way than if they were just reading your book. I'm sure is so powerful in and of itself. And then you're taking that off the page and giving them that visceral experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
How cool. And and if I remember right, you're doing a TED Talk, is that right?
Yes, it's happening in September. So I'm really excited about that.
That is amazing. Are you able to share with us what your TED Talk will be about? I'm assuming it's this material, but can you share a little about it?
So I won't share too much, but I'm talking about the idea that the quick fix is not a fix.
Ooh. Oh, I love it. I love it. Would you be willing to share a little bit? I know a lot of people who are listening would love to do a TED Talk or a TEDx talk. Would you share about the process of how you were able to land that talk and what you went through to get there?
Yeah, so I think that, I definitely learned a lot through the application process. I'm happy to share. I think what was interesting to know was that there are so many TEDx stages out there that are independently organized, and each stage has its own flavor in a sense, depending on the organizers and the theme. And so I would say that it's important to get clear on what your message is, what idea you want to share, and then looking for the stages that seem to be most in alignment. And I think that there are so many stages out there, and that it's absolutely possible to get a talk on the stage. And so I would just say, keep trying and really getting clear on what message and idea you have, because that's what really the TED stage is about. It's, ideas that are worth spreading. And so it's a little bit different from a motivational speech or, something like that. And so, it's been a really great experience for me so far, and I look forward to giving a talk soon.
That is such valuable information. Congratulations on landing that talk. It's just
Thank you.
wonderful. I think it's fantastic that your idea, which is so worth spreading, is going to get out there on a bigger, I'm assuming a bigger stage. I don't know if you've been on stages this big or not, but whether you have or you haven't, this is such a way to impact so many people. And that piece around getting clear on your message, I was thinking about how that connects to your second pillar of confidence, that when you know what your message is, then it's so much easier to be confident. And through that process of applying and getting clear to stay calm, stay calm, stay curious, and keep going. These pillars that you have are so wonderful because they can apply to anything and everything that you do.
Yeah, I think that one thing I do want to share is that a lot of times we want to have things all figured out. And for me, having been a perfectionist for many years, is something that I continue to work on, right? It's like being willing to put things out there, to take action, even when I don't have all the things taken care of, in terms of like, even if I don't have all the answers, right? And I think that's a really important lesson that I've learned in my entrepreneur journey, is that the importance of taking action, and that, even if you don't have all the details, or, your message doesn't feel like it's exactly what you want it to be, but still just at least putting it out there, getting feedback, taking action. That's how you're going to be able to hone and craft something that is going to be representative of you. So I would say really, for people out there who feel like they don't have the clear message or clear idea, I would say it's okay, just try, take action, keep going, it will work itself out.
Absolutely. And I agree that anyone who wants to can get on a TED stage. There are just those pieces that you need to know how to get there. And that, like what you said, you don't have to have all the answers. You can take just one step at a time and allow things to unfold. I do think that that is something a lot of people struggle with, is feeling like, well, I'm not there yet, or I'm not good enough yet, or I don't have all the answers yet. And none of us have all the answers. So we're all learning. We're all in a process of not knowing. We know some things, and a lot of things we don't know, and then other things we don't know that we don't know. So being in that state of curiosity and that state of being okay and giving yourself permission to not know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why I really credit mindfulness for helping me on my journey of really just learning to be present with what is, and also to be in a state of non-judgment, which is much easier said than done, I know. But I think a lot of times it's when we have the judgment, and that really makes it hard for us, right? Like when we're like, oh, this is good, this is bad, we like this, you don't like that. It adds additional, I think, pressure and stress. So I would say definitely being in that state of mindfulness, of presence without judgment, has really helped me too along the way.
Do you have any advice for our listeners about what might help to be in that state of not judgment, of not judging themselves, not judging the process?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely like all things, it's a process, meaning it's, it's not like you suddenly, it goes away completely. But I do think that for me, developing this skill of self-compassion has been very helpful for as things have kind of transpired. And I think it's, when you learn how to be kind to yourself, you're so much kinder to everyone else also, right? And I think I used to definitely be a lot more judgy about like everything else, everyone else. And then I realized it was because I was so incredibly hard on myself.
Mm.
And so, I was like, well, everyone else needs to be, XYZ as well. But as I've really evolved and done a lot of the inner work, and to bring that sense of compassion to myself, I've really seen the shifts in my world and also my relationships with other people, and changed in so many ways, and just really have been able to be in a state of inner peace, which has been really wonderful.
Wow. Having compassion for yourself really has those ripple effects when you give yourself permission to love yourself as you are, then you can do that with other people as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
yeah. Yeah. So, if there was one thing that you wanted our listeners to take away from our conversation today, what would that one thing be?
Hmm. I would say that to not give up, I think is really important, to really learn to listen to who you really are. I think a lot of times, especially as an entrepreneur, there's a lot going on, right? You're taking care of 10,000 things at once.
Mhm.
Um, and and then, things are going to work, things are not going to work. And also everyone has an opinion about everything. And so I think what's really important is to learn to stay connected to who you are, and to have moments of silence with just yourself so that you can stay connected, so that you really believe in yourself, and so that you can keep going and on your path to success, wherever that may be.
Oh, wow. That is powerful to stay connected to yourself and listen to yourself, the value of that. Yeah, there are so many voices. There's so much noise that comes in. And to create those spaces, that quiet space to be with yourself, know yourself, that makes all the difference.
It really is really important to have that space, because I do think that we all have the answers within. I always like to tell my clients, I'm like, you are already complete, like you have the answers, right? It's possible for you. But because oftentimes there's so much noise that you can't really see or access it. And I think as a coach, what's great is you get to show your clients what they're capable of, and you get to really guide them there. And so I think it's just important to remember that you do have what it takes. You do have all the answers, and it's possible. Absolutely. It's possible for you.
Yes, it is. What a great note to end on. And Cindy, thank you so much for sharing this, sharing your pillars of calm, confidence, and curiosity, sharing that wonderful breathing technique. And if our listeners, if they want to find you, if they want to buy your book, if they want to work with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Sure. So I'm available on social media. My handle is at Cindy Tsai MD. I'm primarily on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And then also, you're welcome to visit my website at cindytsaimd.com, where I have information about coaching, speaking, my book, and I also have a bunch of freebies on there. So make sure you grab them too.
And you have one in particular that sounds incredible about finding calm. Is that right?
Yes. So I have a guide that I call Create Your Own Calm, where I share 3 ways to end your overwhelm now. So if you're interested, if you've been feeling stressed and overwhelmed, this is for you. So make sure to visit cindytsaimd.com/calm, and you'll be able to get this free guide to start now.
Oh, wonderful. I know I'm going to go there right now and download that. That sounds fantastic. And anything that brings down the overwhelm is always welcome in my world. So again, that's cindytsaimd.com/calm. So it's CINDYTSAIMD.com/calm. I got that right?
Yes. Thanks, Carissa.
Fantastic. So make sure you go and download that wonderful guide. Check out Cindy's website, her books, find her on social media. And thank you so much for being here today. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.